Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Minecraft with your buddy, Spartan Overdrive. Today we are gonna build something special. We're gonna build a windmill. And the reason we're doing that is because we've kind of got sidetracked from our journey the last couple episodes. We've been busy doing collabs and building all kinds of spooky stuff. And before we got into all that, we had decided that our citizens here didn't have enough to eat. So we built the chicken coop, or Grotzod rather built that chicken coop for us, which we're about to approach in a minute. And we decided that this area was going to be our new area for agriculture, for farming, and all of that good stuff so that our good people had something to eat. They've got houses, they've got parks, they've got all that good stuff, but boy, are they getting hungry. So today we're going to continue that, and I've actually been working off camera for quite a while. Just kind of wanted to show you guys how we're getting over here, how the land is connected. This is where the chicken coop is, and then out here there is a vast void of almost nothingness. I've been working quite a while on leveling this land, and you can see the squares and stuff, and that goes on for a long ways. I had cleared out quite a bit, and then I pasted in a house here that I thought was going to be a ranch. It ended up being way too big. It was insane. So I decided I needed some more clear space. So I've been working really hard using my structure blocks and different things to make this land really flat, good farmland. But I don't want it totally flat. So I'm going back here and I'm adding in, I guess some custom terrain is what we'll end up with eventually. But I've got a lot of work to do on that. I want a huge wheat field and cattle and every kind of field you can imagine. It looks like we lost a poor sheep in the process of this area. But hey, sometimes there are casualties in the land of farming. And so today, the idea behind the windmill is it's going to be our place where we actually process all the grain, and we'll use the power of the wind. I really like the idea of having a build that actually is functional, or at least pretend functional, kind of like the chicken coop and the blacksmith. And they actually have purposes to them, right? They serve purposes. So this windmill is gonna be cool looking first and foremost, because that's what we're all about, designing a cool connected world. And then secondly, we're actually gonna give it a function that should hopefully be pretty cool. And I don't know if I'll get into creating all the landscape that we need to make this thing look super beautiful today. We may only get the windmill in place and without all the surroundings like we normally do. But that's okay. We gotta start somewhere, right? There's a lot to do out here. So let's get started. Oh boy, guys. I'm a little frustrated. We're in trouble. Unfortunately, I got the error ID 10T. You know the one, that infamous error that all computers have, ID 10T. But it's okay, I think I can overcome it. Basically what happened is OBS, which is the recording program that I use, has been fantastic up until now. And I don't know how this happened, because you saw that I recorded the first part of my episode. Well, after that, everything else I recorded all night long, which, by the way, these episodes take me probably a day or two to record, like nonstop. Seriously, I'm pretty slow at this. But I get distracted easily doing stuff like I'm doing right now. But anyways, after recording for the entire night, I didn't go back and recheck, because I checked my first recording, the intro, and it worked fine. Well, guess what? Nothing else got recorded. Only the audio, no video. And I really thought that maybe we would try a new genre of black screen audio only building Minecraft. But I feel like that wouldn't come across quite as well. I feel like people want to see the build maybe. I don't know. So anyways, we're stuck with a bad situation where I got to figure out how I'm gonna do all this without rebuilding the entire thing. So I'm not going to. Hopefully, you guys will forgive me this episode. We actually have a lot of work left to do, but the main part of the build is finished. And I'm just going to go talk through what we did. And this is it. So as you can see, we've got our windmill in place. And this actually took a lot of work, believe it or not. The first time I made it, this rock wall came up probably twice as far, and everything was a lot fatter, and I didn't like the way that looked with the blades, which we will go around and look at in a moment. But now, as you can see, it's coming in one here, coming in another one here, coming in another there, and it's given that tall, slender look that I really wanted it to have. I wanted the blades to look much bigger than than everything else. I wanted it to just dwarf the windmill itself and be kind of a smaller structure, even though it's pretty big. In here, we are making this thing functional. We've got a path going around, and the idea is maybe sometimes it's a calm day. It's not a real windy day, and you got to come in here and you got to push on these things with some animals or maybe some human labor and get them spinning. And why do you want them spinning? Well, you've got to grind up your wheat down here or your whatever mill that you're using, and it's called a windmill, right? We're milling the wheat in between these two tables, these two stones here is the whole idea. So that's kind of what it looks like from above. And yeah, so the idea is this is going to turn, right? And yeah, so I think eventually, maybe next episode, we will make this functional. Even though we're not in survival, I think I've talked about it a whole lot, hinting at it. I think I will go to survival eventually. And I think I'm going to go kind of back and forth. And I want this stuff to be functional for that, but also just because I think it makes the experience better in general. So what is this attached to? Well, we go all the way up to the top here, and hopefully this looks like gears and not swastikas, because that's not good. That's just kind of how it turned out, guys. Sorry, no intention there at all, but that's what these things look like, I guess. And that comes all the way through, so you can kind of get a little bit better view here, I think, where this gear interconnects with this gear over here. And I went through a lot of different iterations of these gears to kind of make them more gear-like. These aren't the best looking gears, but nothing else that I could come up with anyways could interlock like this. I liked what I had at one point was something kind of like this. And so it kind of looks like, you could lock something in here. But the problem is when you get down here, I want it to actually lock in, and you can't do, you're not going to get a log right here because these are all just partial blocks. So that doesn't really work, and it would kind of look silly there, I think. So yeah, so that's what we ended up with. And that's the roof, nothing special about that. And then outside, what did we end up with over on this side, the front side? And I put this as a front side because we're going to approach it from over here most likely. And that's what we ended up with. I think it turned out pretty good. Like I said, it took a lot of iterations to get to this. I really wanted these to be straight and squared off. You guys, if you don't know, a lot of my thumbnails are pictures that I actually post on Reddit for people to see there too. To kind of generate interest, to be honest with you. But also I like to share stuff with those guys because they have, they give a lot of inspiration over there. If you don't subscribe to the Minecraft subreddit, you definitely should. It's got some great stuff on there. Or Detail Craft is a great one too. But anyways, I want to kind of share this with everybody. And I do it with a program called Chunky. And that's what gives those special renders that I have. And chunky, I've discovered, looks a lot better when your build is, well, chunky and straight lines. And so I didn't want this swoop, but I really like it. I think it looks really cool. And so I went ahead and kind of went with an intermediary between the straight line chunk look that I was originally going for and then the kind of swervy look that I've seen other people do that gives it motion. And I think the reason you do that is it does give it a sense of motion like this. And if we come and look at the other side, you'll kind of see that even more. You can see these are they're kind of like sails caught in the wind, right? They're kind of blowing this way, which I feel like, I don't really know a whole lot about windmills, honestly, but I've seen some some modern windmill sails, and they're shaped like airplane blades, and they're bent in a certain way that will catch the wind, which makes sense. That's the whole point of these, right? And then just added some fence posts and things like that to give it some structure, to make it feel a little bit more sound. Have the log coming all the way through. Oh yeah, and so what happened is I had to rebuild this thing a bunch of times. I pushed this whole thing out by a block because I thought that this roof line was going to come out and encroach upon the build itself, but it didn't. But anyways, it still looks pretty good this way, I think, because you've still got a 1 block gap, otherwise it'd be touching. But when I did that, you ended up with this really long log sticking out here that looked unsupported and weak and didn't look like it would hold this up. So I just put this little bracing around it. And whoa, we're taking a fall here. Unfortunately, we don't have the vertical slabs. So what I had to do was use walls here. And I think that actually works out pretty good too. It almost looks gear-like, and it kind of looks like it's holding on to and supporting the log a little bit. So yeah, I think that actually worked out pretty good in our favor this time. And then the roof line here, as you can see, this thing took me forever. At first, I had this part here that came all the way up. I didn't narrow it down like that. And I didn't want to because I didn't want this to be so narrow in here. If you're wondering why, if I can get in here again, if you're wondering why I cannot get in here, if you're wondering why this stuff closes in and actually touches here, it's because I needed this to be more narrow. And I didn't want the build itself to be so gargantuan. I needed it to be a certain size to kind of fit in the structure files that I give you guys. If you're not aware, check the download. I will actually have this entire build linked for you guys to download and put in your own world. It's not just a world file. It's a file specific for this build, so you can actually integrate it into your own world and make it look even better for you. But yeah, so that's one of the reasons I make it this size, and it's also... I just liked it. So anyways, it ended up creating an issue on the interior where the gears actually touch the wall. But I think, with the way that Minecraft is, there's a lot of pretending going on. And I think it actually works out fine. It looks okay. But yeah, because this thick base down here went all the way up like that, it's kind of a rounded shape down here. And I ended up with a rounded roof that was like a Harry Potter style hat. I didn't care for it at all. And so I am really glad that we were able to square it off at the top a little bit when we came in and made it smaller. And that gave us this shape here. And I had these on a 45 and decided I wanted to add something a little special. And I went ahead and just added a full block right here and another one right here all the way around. And that gives you that slight curvature that makes it steeper as it goes up to the peak. And I think that looks kind of nice. I don't know if that's more of a... Nordic style or just a European style in general, but I have started to lend most of my builds in that direction because I really do like that. The roof makes a huge difference, really impactful and cool looking. So here's the deal. This looks essentially complete right now, but there are so many details we can add to this to make it look better, in my opinion. You guys might like it exactly like it is, and it's more simplified, and it will definitely look better in that chunky render. I might actually render it just like this. So when you see the thumbnail, it might look like this, but I might add some more stuff to it to make it look even cooler here. Oh, I'm definitely going to add some more stuff to it here in just a minute. But this is the basic shape that we're going to start with. And then obviously we've got our paths coming along here, and I said I wasn't going to do any terraforming, but I started doing a little bit. And over here especially, I thought this would be fun. Instead of a bridge over here, this is like, this is all farmland, right? It's all... I don't know. I wouldn't say it's a poor area, but it's not ritzy necessarily. And instead of a bridge, I thought it would be cool to harken back to olden times when before they could get a bridge in here. Maybe they're going to build one day, but right now it's just kind of this muddy path that you got to bog through. And so I added in a lot of path blocks and some tilled earth that looked cool. I had to build this up quite a bit from the creek here. These rivers that run through here are really, really deep. In fact, I wonder, let's check this out together real quick. Let's see if I can find my F3 key. Sorry, my voice is probably all over the place. This is in, technically, it is a river biome. I thought maybe this was ocean biome that somehow came into here. Wow, interesting. In all the worlds that I've had, I've never had rivers this deep. This is pretty deep. I like it though. It seems somewhat realistic. Pretty cool. So, and I like this little view right here too, by the way. I think this little split river here, once we get the farmland filled out with all the wheat fields everywhere and then all the other little pigsties and cattle and everything that we get everywhere, I think it's going to look really good. And this little entryway to it looks pretty sharp. Yeah, I like it. Cool. Okay, so guys, I know this is a little bit different. If you're new to the channel, know that typically I will actually take you through the build process a lot more than I did this time. Sorry I skipped out so much, but we have less cuts this time, and we're gonna have one more because this next part is the part where I really gotta hem and haw and figure out exactly, because I don't know how I'm gonna detail this yet. I just know that I want more detail. Everything seems a little bit plain right now. One thing that we'll do definitely is we'll change the stone texture out. I want it mainly cobble, but I'm going to throw in maybe some smooth stone and some brick and stuff like that here and there just to give it some variation. That's something we always do. And then and a lot of times I'll tear up the roof and make it look a little more tiled and maybe dilapidated. This one I'm not sure if I can do that. There's not a lot to work with. So we may leave it like it is. It looks pretty cool the way it is. Otherwise, I really don't know what we're going to do until I do it. So let me get to working on it, see if I can't figure some things out, get all that boring stuff that's not fun to record out of the way, and then I'll come back. Oh, and let's cross our fingers and hope that this recording actually records. Please, dear Lord, save this recording. And here we are. We've got some detailing done, and I think it looks a lot better this way. So basically, what I did, obviously I added the dormers on the roof here on either side, and I essentially did the same thing on every side with the exception of the side that has the windmill itself. And so yeah, I don't know, it's a dormer on the roof, but is this a dormer as well? I'm not sure, these ones that stick off the side of the building, but it needed something for interest. Now I don't know how realistic this is for an actual windmill to have all these different floors and to look like this. And in fact, on the interior, there's really not a lot going on as far as floors up above. I don't have anything. I could put some ladders up there and I could build some floors possibly, but you're going to have a hole in the middle for this to make sense. And I like looking up there and seeing the gears. So it's kind of almost like a fancy clock tower that has all this extra stuff and adornment just to have the adornment for no other reason but for that. So yeah, anyways, I think it's pretty cool. When you walk down here, it gives you kind of this sense of grandiose, and you come this way and you can almost feel these things touching your head. It's really huge and just, it's crazy. Like in real life, that would be nuts. And that's kind of the idea, the feeling that I wanted, is to have these big whooshing, swooping blades almost hitting your head, but not quite. And yeah, I think that turned out pretty good. And obviously we added a lot of vinage and we crawled up the side here. And then as far as, obviously to detail it out, I added the roofs and the balconies and things like that. But otherwise, something I did, and whether or not this worked is going to be up to you to decide. But what I did is I tried to combine the stone that we had. I took it up to the top as best I could, and I implemented these pillars on the side as well as this here. I had this as wood previously, but I thought it looked better to kind of blend all these textures together just a little bit, but there's still a very noticeable difference between the stone bottom and the wooden top, which I think makes sense as far as stability goes and a little bit more realistic, right? And logs here and there and so forth. So that's pretty much it. You can kind of get an idea of it. If you want to see it in more detail, check out this description. As I mentioned before, you can download this, import it in your own world, and check it out. So anywho, that's what we're looking at for our completed windmill. Hey, let's take a look at the area now that we've got some of the landscape filled in. We've got some wheat, which is the whole purpose of this place. I don't think this build would be complete without it. So let's walk through the field. I have just kind of randomly generated some shapes here that I thought would be kind of cool around this. Now eventually we'll probably expand this to be much, much, much bigger, but I wanted to just get a feel of it right now before I got the rest of my landscape filled out, and before I do all my terrain and modifications and stuff like that. So we got a couple little scarecrows here. We piled up some hay bales, which we'll kind of put throughout the hay field. And that's the idea, is I wanted to put a little bit of everything that I could think of at the moment that I will eventually have scattered throughout, because just hay everywhere is actually kind of cool, but I think it looks even better when it's got a few little odd and ends poking through to kind of make it cool. Maybe a lone tree here and there, some hay bales here and there, and even some field stones I think would be really cool. I know my grandpa had a ranch, and he spent his entire life going around and piling up field stones that he found to make it easier to maintain, and he would just put them in piles like this until he got a chance to move them off out of the field. And so it's not uncommon to have little piles of stones like that. There's one example, and here's a bigger example here, and I just kind of well, you can see what I did there. It's pretty simple. Just kind of mix and match your stones there. And so this is what we ended up with, and I think it looked pretty good. Now, if you guys remember, I talked about the shape of this, each of these turbines or these windmill blades being such that it kind of presented itself to look like it had some movement going on, which I think is pretty cool. But if you want to see something even cooler, tune in to next episode because I'm going to make it move for real. We're going to animate this thing inside and out. We're going to make it functional and it's going to be super cool. So if you're not already subscribed, please do subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like on it. Let me know that you're looking forward to that next episode where we make this thing move in Minecraft. Until next time, guys, as always, keep it creative.